When Freddie Mercury died in 1991, the world didn't just lose one of the greatest voices in music history. The band Queen also lost something deeper. Something only one man truly felt to his core. John Deacon looked at his bandmates Brian May and Roger Taylor and said quietly, painfully, "You can't replace Freddie. It's over." And then he walked away. Completely, no farewell tour, no final performance, no emotional goodbye to the fans who had adored him for 20 years. Just silence. For more than 30 years now, John Richard Deacon, Queen's bassist, the quiet one, the youngest member, has lived a life completely outside the spotlight. No interviews, no public events, no music, no comeback, nothing. And yet, he is still alive, still out there, living quietly in the same South London house he bought in the 1970s, raising his 6 children, playing golf, and staying far, far away from everything that once made him a global superstar. But how did the quiet kid from Leicester become the man who walked away from one of the most legendary bands in history? How did the musician who wrote some of Queen's biggest hits simply vanish into thin air? To understand the man who disappeared, we have to go back to the beginning. It's 1971. John Deacon is only 19 years old, a shy, serious electronics student at Chelsea College in London. He'd played bass in a few small amateur groups, but music wasn't his main goal. He wanted to finish university, get a degree, build a stable, secure future. He wasn't chasing rock stardom, but rock stardom found him. At the time, Freddie Mercury, Brian May, and Roger Taylor had been searching for a permanent bassist for months. They tried out several musicians, but nothing clicked. No one fit the unique chemistry they were building. Then, one night at a disco, a mutual friend introduced John to Brian and Roger. A few days later, he came in for an audition. He walked into the room, quiet, calm, and reserved. He played one song with them. He didn't show off. He didn't talk much. He didn't try to impress anyone. But as soon as he started playing, Freddie, Brian, and Roger looked at each other and knew, almost instantly, this was their man. Why? Because John wasn't loud. He was steady. He was balanced. He was the calm, solid anchor to 3 gigantic, explosive musical personalities. He was the missing piece of the puzzle. John Deacon joined Queen in 1971, becoming the 4th and final member. But here asks the detail that proves exactly who John was. He insisted on finishing his university degree before fully committing to the band. So while Queen was starting to record their debut album, a young John Deacon was still attending lectures and sitting for exams. He graduated with first-class honors in electronics. That tells you everything you need to know about him. Practical, thoughtful, measured. He wasn't a dreamer chasing a fantasy. He was a doer, building a foundation. For the next 20 years, John became the secret weapon of Queen. On stage, he rarely drew attention to himself. He didn't command the audience with theatrical flair like Freddie. He didn't shred guitar symphonies like Brian. He didn't explode with percussive energy like Roger. He was the steady presence in the background, the solid ground beneath the earthquake of Queen's sound. But he was the foundation of the groove that held everything together. And while he was the quietest member, his contributions were anything but. John Deacon wrote some of Queen's biggest and most iconic hits. Another one bites the dust. That legendary funky bass line was all John. It became Queen's best-selling single ever, a global phenomenon. I Want to Break Free, the powerful anthem of liberation. You're My Best Friend, a beautiful, heartfelt ballad he wrote for his wife. Spread Your Wings, an inspiring story of a young man dreaming of a better life. When John Deacon wrote a song, it often became a worldwide smash. He had an incredible ear for melody and a pop sensibility that perfectly balanced the band's heavier rock sound. Yet, for all the success, fame never seemed to touch him. While the other members of Queen traveled, partied, gave interviews, and lived the archetypal rock star life, John Deacon went home. He married his girlfriend, Veronica Tetzlaff, in 1975, just before Queen's career went stratospheric. He stayed devoted to her and their growing family. No scandals, no chaos, no drama. He was just a normal man who happened to play bass in the biggest band on earth. His bandmates were his colleagues and friends, but his family was his world. This separation between his public life and his private self would become the defining trait of his entire career. Then came November 24, 1991, the day the music stopped. Freddie Mercury passed away from complications related to AIDS. For the world, it was the loss of a musical icon. For the band, it was the end of an era. But for John Deacon, it was something more profound. Freddie wasn't just Queen's frontman. He was the band's heart, its charismatic center. For John, he was also an emotional anchor, the person he trusted most, the one who understood and protected his quiet nature. Freddie's death didn't just break up the band, it shattered something deep inside John. He managed to perform at the 1992 Freddie Mercury tribute concert. He played the songs. He stood on stage with Brian and Roger. But fans could see it in his eyes. In his posture, he was empty, broken, done. The joy was gone, replaced by a deep, hollow grief. Queen released the album Made in Heaven in 1995, using Freddie's final vocal recordings. John played on it, but by all accounts, he did so reluctantly, quietly, almost painfully. It was a difficult and emotional process for everyone, but especially for him. Then, in 1997, the remaining three members recorded one last track together, No One But You Only, The Good Die Young, a song dedicated to Freddie's memory. That was the last time John Deacon ever played with Queen. Shortly after, he told Brian and Roger the words that would define the rest of his life. As far as we are concerned, this is it. There is no point carrying on. It is impossible to replace Freddie. And then, he disappeared. At first, everyone thought John would be back. He was only 46 years old, healthy, a multi-millionaire, a member of what was still one of the biggest bands on the planet. But weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. Years turned into decades. And John Deacon never returned. He respectfully declined every invitation. He skipped interviews. He skipped award ceremonies. He skipped anniversary celebrations. He even skipped Queen's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001. He attended the ceremony, but he didn't join the band on stage. He watched from the audience, then vanished again. Brian May and Roger Taylor have always been respectful of his decision. Brian has said gently, "John's fine. He's happy. He just doesn't want to do this anymore. We respect that." Roger Taylor has been even more direct. John wants to be left alone. We're in touch, but he's not coming back. So where is John Deacon today? What has he been doing for the last 30 years? The answer is simple, yet almost unbelievable in today's world of constant exposure. He's at home, living the quietest life imaginable in the same house in Putney, southwest London, that he bought in the 1970s. He is still married to his wife Veronica after nearly 50 years. He raised their 6 children. He's now a grandfather. He plays golf. He spends time with his family. He has complete privacy. He manages his finances. He's still a quarter of the Queen Empire. After Auditioned lives comfortably, completely out of the public view. Every few years, a blurry, long-lens photo appears in a newspaper, John buying groceries or walking down the street, but he ignores the tension, politely, quietly, and then disappears again. No tell-all books, no documentaries, no social media. No desire for fame, just peace. Some people think John is shy. Some think he's fragile. Some believe he's secretly angry at Brian and Roger for carrying on with new singers like Paul Rodgers and Adam Lambert. But the truth may be much simpler and much more profound. For John Deacon, Queen was the 4 of them. It was Freddie, Brian, Roger, and him. When Freddie Mercury died, Queen died with him. His last public quote about the band was short but powerful. "I have no wish to be on a stage again. My life is about my family now." And for more than a quarter of a century, he has lived by that promise. John Deacon is one of the most fascinating figures in rock history, not because of what he did on stage, but because of what he chose to do after he left it. In an industry built on ego, attention, and staying relevant, he chose none of it. He didn't chase fame. He didn't chase more money. He didn't chase nostalgia. He simply walked away and never looked back. He kept his promise to Freddie. He protected his peace. And in a world where everyone wants to be seen, John Deacon chose silence. And in that silence, he found his own kind of happiness. Thank you for listening until the end. Your loyalty is as legendary as the music itself.